much more competitive than a high school experience should be. Kids are not focused on preparing themselves to be later in life. They're so focused on getting in to a college. They're not focused on developing themselves to succeed in that college and to succeed as a person, but rather have the numbers. People are so confined by these numbers that are so arbitrary.
The kid in the middle 50% of a class at Council Rock North would be a very smart kid, and it is a very smart kid, but they're not treated that way and they're not seen that way because of that tunnel vision. Because if you're not in your top 30, 20, 10% here, if your GPA is not over a 4.0, then this school almost has created this culture where that's an issue.
You've got people who have been told their whole life that to have one goal, which is to get good grades, and whatever else to get the college application perfect. And that's the one mindset that they have. You see it in just daily conversation. That's what people talk about. And because they can only speak about that, it really limits what's acceptable as far as what people want. Because if you don't want that, if that's not your goal, you're a failure.
The school is truly wonderful, but I do think that we're in a great deal of denial in trying to keep up this level of perfection that is not only false, because it's a great place, but it's not perfect. But keeping up that level of perfection is both impossible, and it shortchanges those who are really in need in this school.
Whenever some sort of situation occurs where a student is in danger or someone makes a threat, they kind of just cover it up or sweep it under the rug, and they don't really tackle anything unless it could affect their position as number 3 in the state and 100 something in the country.
I heard this week that I have a student whose parent makes them take the SAT every time it's offered, and multiple nights a week she takes SAT prep work on top of all of her athletics and volunteering and all of her AP classes, and every day she looks like she's just gonna 100% just crumble, cry. She can't handle anything. So whether that manifests itself into depression, whether it manifests itself in, I don't know, just picking on each other, whatever it is, it's not a healthy environment. I have known kids who, just because they haven't done well enough on their SATs, have broken down and gotten extreme anxiety. And sometimes it's something they can get over, sometimes it's something that just starts to consume them for months and months on end, and it is scary, it really is.
The school has their programs, that's why we're hailed as such a good school. There are official outlets to go to, but like I said, that ends up defining people. And the last thing someone who's feeling anxiety or who's feeling depressed wants is to be defined by that depression or anxiety. So it's essentially a joke to be reported to CARES, which is our school's outlet for that kind of thing. So to find any serious help or support, it's very unspoken, and a lot of times it doesn't reach the people who need it.
I don't know where I could even get a CARES form to report someone if I thought they needed help. It's just never gone into an extensive, detailed talk because it's something they don't want to talk about.
This is a really difficult place to be if you aren't perfect. So we've had some recent tragedies. When I started, there was one year we had so many suicides, and I don't know how those kids survived that year. It was just person after person. I forget the number, but my cousin was in the school that year, and I know he went to 4 funerals for his buddies, his friends.
Just last year, when another student committed suicide, I found out the night before that it happened, but it didn't really hit me until I came into school the next morning and saw no one was doing anything. There was such a lack of communication. I came into my second period class so visibly upset, and my teacher demanded that I told him why I was feeling this way. And because the school didn't address the fact at all, I had to be the one to tell my teacher that I was upset because a student I knew, a person who I sat in class with, put a bullet in their head.
A kid who passed away last week, drinking and driving, his life is over, and it's not something that we're going to talk about again. she read it on the morning announcements, and then, no, Powder Puff football next week. That's it. He's totally eclipsed from our memory.
And even more, there are probably tragedies we don't even know, right? The kids are at home that are so stressed. And I think that by keeping the bar at this particular level and expecting this from everyone, of course, is going to lead to all that, these horrible suicide attempts or unfortunate successful suicides.
We want to promote ourselves so much. We have so much fun in this school. Look how amazing it is to be Council Rock North. Look at our grades, look at our students. They go off to amazing colleges. But please ignore the students that don't go on to do amazing things or who don't make it to graduation at all. And we have to focus and have a conversation about why he was so upset, why he did it. Because if we don't know if there are these other kids slipping through the cracks who feel exactly the same way are going to do the exact same thing.
It's something that statistics can't address. It's something that SAT scores or GPAs or your transcript, none of that should be able to affect that. Like I said, I think there needs to be more of an emphasis. I think when you talk about teaching an ethics class would be really beneficial. Something like that. Something like just ways to build relationships in the school community, because those, when you leave here, are truly what are going to last with you and not those ultimately meaningless numbers.
I know it's too much to ask to undo GPA and all of that. We're a public school. We'll never go like a Quaker route or something like that. That's out there.
We care very much about raising a whole student here, and we know that academics is just the start of that. That really what's going to be the measure ultimately of how they do in life is going to be how they interact with others, how they advocate for themselves, how they care for their fellow student and their fellow man or woman.
I guess North is just churning out a bunch of smart time bombs. And that might be an exaggeration, but it's not far from the truth, I think, because what does it matter that you've taken calculus, that you know all these things, if you don't know who to vote for?
We have to teach kids how to interact in the world. And I fear that some schools are still a little bit behind the curve on that and are still sort of holding up the mantle of, well, 25% of our grads go on to Ivy schools. Well, how many of your grads kill themselves? Or how many of your grads really have mental health issues later on because they haven't been taught how to deal with stress, how to deal with anxiety, and how to advocate for themselves as a human being, as a young adult, not just as a student.
No one is 100% school. Everyone has their passions, everyone has things that they love to do. And not being able to cultivate that, or not even being able to enjoy it because of other pressures from school, it's unhealthy.
How are these people supposed to grow as individuals and have a life outside of their work? It's manifested in all this extreme stress and these destructive decisions because kids don't have outlets anymore. They don't have time to have outlets anymore. So there's just no way for them to get away from what they're constantly told they have to be doing and what they themselves feel they have to be doing.
I don't think we need to make these cookie cutters anymore. I would love to see kids just explore and feel less pressure, because I think it is kind of tearing this school apart at times. And if it doesn't hit them in high school, it might hit them later. When do they get to breathe? I don't think they get to breathe anymore.